Hello, I'm Blake Tyner, and welcome to The Blake Show. So, I'm doing a little bit of a quick show tonight, talking about my latest magazine article that came out yesterday. Um, Trying to check to make sure that we are streaming live on everything. We're streaming on Facebook and on um, YouTube at the same time. So, let me know if you are watching. Say hello when you get in. Um, so I got a message yesterday morning from Jane Myers, who is my cousin and the owner of Robson Living Magazine, and telling me she wanted to drop off copies of the latest magazine for me. And so let's see if I can figure out how to turn this around, and can't. So I'm actually just going to turn the whole thing around and show it to you. Well, give me a second, just bear with me. I mean, I'm not as prolific with this new. Oh, it does show. It's just a little bit late. Okay. So, this is the latest issue of Robson Living Magazine. Like I said, it just came out yesterday, and I got my copies yesterday. And my article this time is on the late Evelyn Price. And I entitled the article Evelyn Price, A Force to be Reckoned with and a Southern Lady, which she was both. Anyone who knew Evelyn knew that she was the queen of retail in Lumberton, and that she also had a pure heart of gold. This was probably one of the hardest articles that I have had to write in all the years that I've been writing for Jane in the magazine, because Miss Price was just in my life my whole life. My grandmother started working for her at the Fashion Bar when I was like 4 years old, and then I worked with her at the museum. Then once I moved back to Lumberton, she was at my dinner parties all the time. So it was a very hard article to write. But the feedback I've gotten so far has been good on it. Please let me know in the magazine know if you like my articles. So I found like an opening ad from the very first grand opening that she had at her original store. Um, Photographs of inside the store, her windows, which of course she was known for. Um, Pictures of her girls in the store, regardless of what age they were always her girls. This is my great grandmother sitting with Miss Price. Um, some of her girls on a buying trip, and then her with her family, which she loved, with her son and her daughter. So I hope you enjoy this article that I did on Miss Price. It's really a article that I worked on for a while. I was working on it before she passed away last June. But on another note, I want to talk about the post I've been doing. If y'all are following me on Blake Tyner Historian, my Facebook page, you will know that I have been posting. I have posted almost every day since February the 1st. So I hope you like the articles. If not, then you're getting bombarded. Matter of fact, I suggest that regardless of where you find me, if you get most of you are on Blake Tyner Historian, but lots of you see me on the Remember When Lumberton page or the Remember When St. Paul's page, the Roland Memory page, or either the Remembering Robeson County History, which I started several years ago. I suggest that you follow me on Blake Tyner Historian, because I had one group that has banded me because I was posting so much. But I wanted to give you some feedback on what I've been doing and the feedback that I've been getting from y'all. So in February, uh, I was posting to celebrate African American History Month. So just from like the last 2/3 of the month, I got my my post reached over 40,000 people and had over 5,000 post engagements. And a post engagement is where somebody either hit like, love, um, or either commented or forwarded the page to somebody else. And um, I just was at all of those numbers from February, but March and April are really blowing my mind. The most talked about articles for February were the posting I did on Alexander Thompson, who was the former slave who started Thompson Institute in Lumberton, which then became Knuckles School. I had like 531 post engagements, and then William Knuckles uh, got over 600 post engagements, and he was, of course, the one who came after Alexander Thompson, and that the school was eventually named for. Another one that got over 600 hits was, or post engagements, was the one that I posted on slave deaths, and this was I just sort of found a couple of articles, and then just it led to a whole thing, and I think I posted like over 20 of them. But these were obituaries for former slaves, most of who were over 100 years old when they died. So it was an interesting post um, because lots of people in the early 1900s, especially, didn't have obituaries. If there was an obituary, it was usually just in the regular posting. Robisonia didn't have an obituary section to begin with. Unlike the Febler newspaper from the very beginning in the 1800s, they had a separate section for um, obituaries and marriages. But the Robisonian would have reporters, local people from each one of the towns. Like there was somebody from Fork, which was like Aunt Becky. There was somebody from Max and somebody from St. Paul, somebody from Littlefield who wrote and submitted an article maybe once a week or so on their area, telling what was going on. And lots of times that's the only place that there are records of these obituaries. And they're important too because before 1913, North Carolina did not have death certificates. So if you're looking for an obituary, sometimes that's the only thing you can find if you don't know where the person's buried, is to find their obituary to get a death date. So it was really interesting, though, to find those 20 plus ones on slave deaths. So then, because I had such a good response in February, I thought, well, I'll do a posting for March every month, every day. And I think I missed like the first 6 days. Because it took a while to find that many women. I thought, oh, I can just breeze through this. I've got plenty of stuff in my files, but I realized that I didn't have as much as I thought I did on women. Uh, so I had to do some research towards the end of the month, especially. But I was just blown out of the water. My articles reached over 92,000 people in March, and I had over 14,000, over 14,500 post engagements. So that means somebody liked it, somebody loved it, somebody left a comment, or somebody forwarded it. And the forwarding is what brings up my numbers. So when you forward one of my posts onto your Facebook feed, then it allows all of your friends who might not be my friends, and in most cases aren't, to have a chance to read that article. So it's really important for me for y'all to not only like the article, but to hit your forward button and forward it to your news feed. Um, I had a lot of feedback on the articles for at March on Women's History. A lot of people who I write about, the people didn't realize, and a lot of people who or didn't realize were from here, but then a lot of people who were people who were their school teachers or mentors. I highlighted like Elizabeth McRae, who a lot of people don't realize who she is, but Lee McRae College up in the mountains at Banner Elk was named for her. She was from Robinson County. She married, sorry, she was from Marion County. Married a doctor from here in Robinson County, Maxton area. He died during the beginning of the Civil War. Her son was killed during the Civil War. Actually died of disease. And then when Sherman's troops marched in April of '65, her house was one of the ones that was raided, and she and the guy, her guest that she had there, actually got into a shooting match with the Yankees. Um, but then after that, she married again, a guy from Wilmington. Once he died, she had always been sort of a teacher in the area, but she went up to the mountains and started teaching mountain children, and then working with a preacher up there, and then a Mrs. Lee was a big benefactor of their little school, and they ended up, like I said, founding the Lee McRae's College, and it's named for the two of them. In more modern times, I posted on Helen Scherbeck and Riz Woods, which are both Lumbee women who have made tremendous strides, not only for the Lumbees, but for everyone, for women in particular. One I posted on, which I'm fascinated with, and I'm doing more research on her and would like to try and see if we could get a state highway marker for her. But Alice Burton Russell, she was born, her father was a slave. He ended up, after the war, owning a newspaper in Maxton. And then he also was the first African American elected in Maxton as a city councilman in the 1880s. I'm going to do some research, but I think he might actually be the first African American in Robinson County that was elected. But after his death, his widow took all of his children and her parents, and they moved to New Jersey. Up there, Alice, who had always loved to sing, began to sing professionally, and she was an opera singer. And she met and married Oscar Minovich, who was the first African American film director and producer. And she actually starred in several of his movies, and she actually co-produced part of the movie. So she's the first African American female movie producer. So she's just really, really interesting person. She and her father both were interesting. Then out of the top five that top five that people commented on. Well, one of the others that posted was that I got like over 500 comments on was Kate Biggs, who was the grandmother of the Kurt Biggs that we know now, Kitty Biggs, Bo Biggs, Catherine Biggs Airwood, Elizabeth Biggs Britt. But she not only was a supporter of her husband, who helped build K&B Biggs into what it is now, but she was a huge historian and genealogist, and the family, after her death, donated all of her files to the Robinson County Library, Public Library. So they're down in the Jennings genealogy room, and they're just a wonderful source of information on all these years of research that she did. Lots of it was on her families, but also local families that she was helping women get into the colonial dames and the DAR and things like that. So there's full of all the research that she did for that. And then lots of people remembered Janie Carlisle Hargrove, who was a school teacher and who the school is named for over in East Lumberton. So I got lots of comments on that. But the top five was one on my wife, who was the first female university engineer in the UNC system, and of course lived here in Robinson County, but her family was also from here, the Thompsons and the Townsend. And then the two articles that I wrote on Margaret French McLean, who was the wife of Governor McLean, our only governor from Robinson County, got over 1,000 hits, the 1,000 post engagements. And she was a fascinating woman. She loved to entertain. She went to the Boston Conservatory of Music. She came back to Robinson County, taught piano. She played the piano at the Baptist Church her entire life, even though her husband was Presbyterian. She stayed at the Baptist Church. And she is the one who saved the North Carolina Governor's Mansion. She's another one that I think we need a highway marker for. She found when he was elected, she went to Raleigh and just found that the governor's mansion was just in horrible shape. She asked the state inspectors to come in and inspect it as if it was a regular hotel, and they said this would be shut down. Yeah, the conditions here are so bad we would have shut it down. And her husband got a appropriation to revamp, and she just went about and just did a tremendous job redoing old furniture that was in the attic, having rugs rewoven to save money, uh, and really redid the governor's mansion and saved it. And the work she did was just out of this world. Um, then Elizabeth Lee, who was the second female to graduate, architect to graduate from from NC State. Um, Even though she's the second one, she's actually the first that ever practiced. The first one got married right after college, so she never practiced. So I had over 1,300 post engagements on her. Another one that got over almost 1,400 post engagements was on Whistler's mother. Everyone's familiar with the painting of the older lady sitting in the rocking chair, Whistler's mother. A lot of people don't realize that even though she wasn't born in Robeson County, she was right next door in Bladen County. So we still claim them since we were originally part of Bladen County. And then the number one post engagement for the month of March was on Jewel Flowers. And if you don't know who Jewel Flowers was, she was a local girl who grew up in the East Lumberton, and her parents sent her to New York to learn to be a secretary. And when she got there, she didn't want to be a secretary, and she wanted to meet this one famous artist that she'd always wanted to know. And she finally got to meet him, and then she ended up being his model for the next 20 years. And she is like probably the person who appeared on more pinup calendars than anybody. So you can go back through and you can look at all these articles because they're all posted on my page. So, for the month of April, I'd done African Americans for February and Women for March because those were their months for History Month. And then I thought, well, I want to keep going. So in April, I decided I would do sort of a trivia. So each day I have posted a photograph of a building in Robeson County and asked for comments on the identification, where you think it's at, what it was, where it's at. And then the next day I post the answers and post a new picture for that day. So far, between now it's the 20th of the month. Yeah, 20th of the month. I've gotten almost 62,000. The pages, my posts have reached over 62,000, almost 62,000 people, which I was just so thankful for the comments that y'all are doing and for the forwarding you're doing. But I've had, in those 20 days, I've had almost 12,000 post engagements. So it's just amazing. When I started this daily post, I thought, well, maybe people will look at it, maybe some will, maybe some won't. But the feedback that I've gotten has just been so amazing. So the top three for this month so far, well, some of the top ones were the health department with over 600 post engagements, then Carolina College, and then the Bank of St. Paul's in St. Paul's, which is now Tarpackers. But the top three was one that I did this week on Pages Lake. Lots of people remember Pages Lake, even though technically isn't in Robeson County. We claim it because U.S. Page was born in White Pond. He was a cousin of my great-grandmother's. And Pages Lake was just the most wonderful place. It is where everybody in Robeson County just about went for picnics and to swim and all. My other connection to it is that my other great grandfather, Archie Tyner, actually leased it from the Page family after Mr. Page was murdered, and operated it for several years. So then the number two reaching post with over 2,000 post engagements was on the Waverly Hotel, which was located in downtown Lumberton on the corner of 3rd and Elm Street. So right across from the plaza, there's the old bank building there now. It's a beautiful columned building. that Governor McLean built for the Bank of Lumberton, the National Bank of Lumberton, which then became Southern National Bank. But probably the most surprising was the post that I did, an old postcard for the Townsend Hotel in Red Springs. And people who don't realize lots of times that Red Springs was a resort area. They were known for their mineral springs, the red water, the mineral springs, which is how this town got its name. But people would come from all over the country to do what they say called taking the water. So they would come and they would stay at the hotel and they would drink the mineral waters, and it would cure them of their health problems. Sometimes they were there for days, weeks, but there were people who would come and spend months at the time. The other thing people would come to spend time with is tons of people from up north would come, men come down for hunting trips. So it was just a tremendous hunting area, and people would come down and spend weeks hunting the area. So it has had almost 3,000 post engagements, and it was shared over 125 times. So what I did was posted of course, the postcard that I initially used, but then some other pictures I had of the hotel. And then I posted the article that I wrote on Red Spring, on the hotel, which was called Red Springs, the Saratoga of the South. Because Saratoga Springs was a place up north that people used to go to take the cures from the water, and was very, very popular and sort of. So at the time that Red Springs was popular, it was often referred to as the Saratoga of the South. So I was just really, really tickled that people have enjoyed that article. I wrote that article like in 2013 or so, I think. I think somewhere around 2012, 2013 for the Robinson Living magazine. And people really enjoyed it when it came out, and they've enjoyed it the times I've posted, but it really just hit home, I guess, with people this time. So I encourage you to not only just look at my post on the groups that I post to, because after I post them on my page, I post them to the Rolling Memories page, to the Remembers in Robeson County History, Remember When Lumberton, and Remember When St. Paul's. But please go in and like my page, which you can Google, you can search on Facebook, Blake Tyner Historian. In the past 28 days, I've had 143 new page likes, which now brings my total up to 901. I would love to hit 1,000 likes maybe in the next month. You can make that possible. So make sure that you like my page. Also, please comment on these posts that I do each day. I love the feedback for one thing, but lots of times people will post their memories, and it'll encourage other people to post theirs, and people can build on things that you post. Because I put a lot of time in these. It takes a lot of time to do all the research and to find the pictures and things like that. Lots of the pictures are pictures that I've used in my 3 books that I've done on Robeson County. But lots of them are ones that people have loaned to me, or that I found through research. So I encourage you to like them and to forward the post onto your Facebook page, please, and to just let me know if you're enjoying all the posts I'm doing. As long as people are enjoying them, I will keep on doing them. So comment on this video link. Let me know if you're enjoying that, and also give me some suggestions. I had Johnny Robertson from Red Springs. Speaking of Red Springs, he messaged me today with some ideas on things that he thought I should post about. And so right now I'm looking at May to be a month where I am focusing on individuals. So you might see some of the people that we've covered in March and February for African American History Month and Female History Month. But I'm going to try and pull some people in who were not in that. So if you've got a particular person you think I should pick for a person of the day, somebody who has been influential in Robeson County history, or was from Robeson County and has gone on to do great things other places, hit me up, let me know. I'm always looking for new areas to research, new people that need to be identified and recognized. So I hope everybody has a great night tonight, and you enjoy the rest of your week. And it's Blake Tanner from the Blake Show signing off. Y'all have